Welcome back. This is Jason from Baseball Card Collection. Today I am going to be discussing the grades in which we buy our cards and fulfill our collection. And there's a lot of talk about investor grade, collector's grade, and the difference between the two and everything in between. Now, the general rule of thumb that I've always heard and been told was buy the highest grade of the card that you want that you can afford. And that's that's all great in theory, depending on what you're looking for. And for the investor grade, what I heard as the rule of thumb is you buy the grade of the decade the card is in. So from the 1980s, it will be an 8, 77, 66, so on and so forth. And anything beyond that is a collector grade. There's a lot of subsets and debates as to what falls in each. And it all comes down to a matter of preference as to what do you want out of your collection? What do you want out of the card? What's your goal? I mean, what are you hoping to accomplish with the purchase? Now, I guess by the definition of the word, everything is an investor grade. I mean, to some degree, our collections are an investment. Whether we like to think of it as that way or not. I mean, we're spending, time and money on a hobby that, in some cases could be a little pricey. And, I haven't met anyone that would be completely okay if their value went down to zero tomorrow. Because to some degree, if you needed to and you need to liquidate, you can, and you'll get something out of it. Even if you take a loss, I mean, you're getting something back. And, to some people, myself included, that's important. I don't want to be spending my hard-earned money on something where I'm not going to get anything back if I ever choose to go that route. With that being said, for me, and I can only speak from how I set up my collection, is I buy the card and not the grade. Or I do my best to buy the card and not the grade. Because ultimately, that's what, you have it for. Whether it be you're building a set and you're putting it in a binder, whether you buy you have some type of display like that, and you want to put them on for show. Even if it's just you who sees them and appreciates them, you want to be able to see it. I'm going to show you some examples of cards that I have that are, could be collector grade, investor grade, depending on how you look at it. And, the adage of buy the card, not the grade. The first I'm going to show you is 1953 Billy Martin. I saw this on, I think it was probably eBay. And I was like, wow, that card looks really, really nice. And it was going for, I don't remember what it was, but it was a little bit more than the 1.5 grade that it has. And I was like, all right, what do I do? And then, I saw the picture of the back, and if you could see, someone wrote over the signature. Well, that's why it got a 1.5. But if you look at the card, I mean, the corners look relatively, well, one of them is a little dinged, but it's a 1953 card. It looks sharp. There's no creases or anything, damaging on the card. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to buy the card and not the grade. Based on the grade itself, I paid more, but I think it's a very nice example of a 1.5. I'm looking at it now, and I'm pleased with the purchase. Another example is a modern card, the Ken Griffey Jr. Now this is an iconic card. It arguably revamped the hobby, and this became like the the pinnacle of modern cards, the card to have for the modern sets. Now, I have it in a 7. The reason I got it as a 7 is because the 10s were very expensive. And, it's not a card where I'm going to be having this as a something I'm going to be cashing in. This is basically a card that just reminds me of my childhood. I didn't want it to be creased. I didn't want it to be, off-centered. I mean, it's a tiny bit off-centered, but it's not bad. And for me, the value that I'm getting out of having a 7 is plenty. I mean, I could have, spent a whole lot more money and had a more valuable card and possibly a more valuable investment by getting a higher grade. But for my purposes, it wasn't worth it. And, every card you have, or that I have, I'm going to speak personally because everyone, thinks differently than me, is part of my overall collection portfolio. So again, going back, by definition, everything is an investment grade because, whether it be a big part of your portfolio or a small part of your portfolio, each card makes up a piece of that. And that's one of the things that I kind of enjoy about it is just putting together a really nice collection or portfolio of cards. And, over time, I would like to think that, my collection or portfolio is becoming more and more valuable. And that's part of what I do. I mean, it's fun to, use the lower parts of my collection, the cards that, aren't as meaningful to me, to either sell them and then use the proceeds to buy better cards or to trade them. I don't think trading is as much of a thing in the hobby as it used to be. So basically what I've seen other people do is, sell parts of their collection and then use those proceeds to buy bigger and better things. Now with the investment cards, you're talking about like, the Babe Ruths, the Lou Gehrig's, the Ted Williams, the Mickey Mantles, the Willie Mazes, the Hank Aaron's, especially when you're getting early career cards like the rookie cards, almost any grade you get of those cards is going to be investment grades because even at the low grades, you're spending 4 figures on some of those cards easy. And, that's not a small amount of money. That's not easy for a lot of people to do, if at all. So, to have the need to have those cards in investment grades, you might have to take out a second mortgage on your house. And, as fun as it would be to have those cards, personally, I don't think that would be necessary. And then you also have the issue of selling it. If you have a mid-grade, 1933 Lou Gehrig, mid-grade, like a 4 or 5. That could be over $10,000. There's not a huge market of collectors that have the discretionable income to spend it and buy that. I mean, that's where do you do it? I mean, do you go to shows? Do you sell it online? I mean, it's not an easy card to move. So there's always that issue as well. Once you get to really high-end collections, it's tough to sell. I mean, it's one could argue that it would almost be better to have 10 George Brett rookies in 7s or 8s than one low-grade Hank Aaron rookie. From a value standpoint, a liquidity standpoint, it's how you choose to have your collection. I mean, do you want one really amazing card? Do you just want that one 52 Topps mantle, or do you want to have lots of other things that are cool to have and display? Again, it really comes down to preference and what do you want out of your collection. It's a debate where I go through endlessly, trying to figure out what parts of my collection do I want to part with. What am I okay with, getting rid of to get the better of, down the line. I haven't figured that out yet. So I'm curious, what do you guys think of the investor grade versus collector grade? What would you rather have, one really, really nice piece, or maybe a handful of really nice cards, or a whole collection of lots of cool stuff? All right, anyway, thanks for watching. I'll talk to you guys soon. Until next time.